Welcome to Obsession Engineering. In this video, Adam is going to show you how he took his RVF 400 tank from a horrible rusty mess to a nice sealed up usable tank.
Dave gave me the tank to bring home to give it a clean and put some sealant in it. Sealant we're going to be using is POR 15. I used it on my TZR race tank and it came up a treat. And to clean it, we're using vinegar. Works really, really well. So what we do is we put the vinegar inside the tank, leave that for a couple of days, swash it all around, empty it out, give it a clean, chuck in the POR 15. So what we've got to do is we've got to take off the filler cap and also the fuel tap. I've actually already taken it off. It is literally 2 bolts and then you pull it out. Same with the filler cap. It is literally 3 pins that hold it in. Take it off. Job is a good one. Always good to keep all your little bits and bobs in tins. Now, I picked up this when I went and picked up some parts from Graham France. Does 3D printing and it's a tank blank, and he gave it to me as a keyring. It's now going to come in really handy because it means I can block off the bottom of the tank, fill it all up, chuck a bit of gasket sealant around it, and that will hold all of the vinegar in. So to keep the vinegar inside the tank, we need to block this hole off. So what I'm going to do is dab some old black silicone on it, and then with me blank, just blank it all off, give it about an hour to dry. Maybe I'll come back tomorrow and whack a load of vinegar in. So that's the blanking plate on, just pinned it down. That hole doesn't actually go into the tank, those two do. Now on the other tank, what I did is I basically rolled up some blue roll, gaffer tape around that, packed it in really, really, really tight, just to make sure none of the fluid comes out. And you also need to do the same when you're putting in the sealant, because it goes rock hard. If you're covering the holes with that stuff, you're going to be minimising the flow of air or the flow of fuel coming out if it's the overflow. So yeah, good to block these up. These ones are actually alright. These actually feed into a tube that go all the way through into the tank. So not really much left to do apart from let the sealant cure, whack some vinegar in. So what we're going to do next is chuck in a load of screws, nuts, bolts, whatever. Just chuck some of these inside. Make sure you can get them out. You don't want one that's too long. So I'm going to dump all these in, chuck them into the tank, and then I'm going to fill it with vinegar. The reason why you put the screws and bolts in is when you're sloshing it around, the screws and bolts just basically scrape the inside, get all the flakes of rust off. So we're going to now chuck in the vinegar. Right, so we've put the vinegar in now and it is brimmed. So what we're going to do now is just put a seal around the top, some gaffer tape, put a glove over it and gaffer tape it down, and then leave it for the following day where you can rinse it out. Right, so the tank's had the vinegar in it for a little bit now. I've just emptied it out with me little tank siphon. As you can see, that is extremely dirty. That's what it was like out of the other tank. So that one was absolutely minging. Still looks like it's very rusty, but that'll all come off on the next stage. And I've taken out all the galvanised nails, given it a wash around just to loosen up any of the debris. So the next thing now is filling it with water, which sounds odd when you're trying to get rid of rust. So what we're going to put inside the tank is some hot soapy water, which neutralises the vinegar acid. Then we give it a really good rinse out, another really good rinse out, and then another really good rinse out, and then we get the heat gun on it to try and dry it out as quickly as possible, because we don't want flash rust. That would just ruin the day. Okay, so we've just filled it with hot soapy water, give it a mega rinse out, and you can see pretty much all that rust is gone. Now what we don't want to happen is to get it flash rusting. So we're going to give it a rinse out, get back into the garage, stick a heat gun in it for maybe an hour, and get it all dry. There's a couple of stains in there and you can see it's starting to flash rust already. So what we're going to do now is hot air gun, whack it in the hole, probably wave it around for about quarter of an hour, give it a check, see if it's fully dry. If not, put it on for a bit longer. And then we get on to the fun stuff of sealing it. Now the tank's nice and dry, we're ready to put the sealer in. We're going to be using POR 15 fuel tank sealer. I use this on all the tanks I've sealed on my race bike. One for Dave's bikes he was doing. Really good stuff. This is 1 pint. We actually only need half of it, so I'm going to put this into a disposable cup and then whack it in the hole. And once it's in, we'll just tape over. I've already done the underneath. Put a bit of tape over, and you just basically continually just rotating it up, down, round, left, right for about 10-15 minutes. Take the tape off, have a check, see if it's all sealed. If there's still a few spots, just see if you can move more of the seal around. I've left the tank quite warm, don't want it too cold. Yeah, so let's give that a whirl. As you can see, much better than it was. Right, so I've swirled around the tank sealer, and as you can see, it's gone all metallic-y silver, and that is over the whole internal surface. I've now just drained it. You let it drain for about half an hour, and then you've then got to let it dry for 4 days.
And 4 days later, Adam had a perfectly sealed up RVF fuel tank ready to go back on his project bike. Thanks for watching, and join us again next time for some more motorbike action.